Ah, now it's time to be a whistleblower. Well, it's time to be a whistleblower, so gotta cover this face.
Look, okay, you and fugly old mates to give crazy fucking rants, but we live in crazy times, so you're probably gonna believe it. Okay. There's no eye. There's no eye. Oh wait, there's two of them. No, no, that's not the correct description for the situation. But anyway, forget about your pronouns for a second. Any pronouns for that matter. They don't apply. We, maybe they, depending on how you want to look at it. If you want to look at this as a LARP, it's up to you. It's her body, their choice, right? Anyway, thanks for that, Nick Fuentes. Yeah. Anyway, so we heard he got doxxed. Anyway, and when he got doxxed, he had to go back to his mother's house, and he was unhappy about it. So anyway, can't say the Yanks aren't standing up to things. So let's go further down crazy lane. This is actually not crazy at all. So we'll talk more about what they call the artificial intelligence agenda. Okay, so there's the obvious applications for artificial intelligence that people solve the idea that it's a good idea. So Professor Stephen Hawking was obviously a cool dude. He could do great equations in his fucking head. And honestly, that was pretty impressive considering his circumstances. In fact, it's impressive he didn't have those circumstances, so it adds to a bit of weight to the argument that he maybe had a little computer chip in his body that helped him run his wheelchair or something. His life wouldn't have sucked so much. So from that perspective, what they call BCIs sound like they're fantastic, right? Wait, what? It's not a complete no on the subject. Actually, it is, and we're going to get to why. Because a lot of this is the really sad part about reality. A lot of the technology that becomes consumer level originally had a military application. Okay, not all of it, just a lot of it. So, take for example mobile phones and the internet. So, the internet was in fact invented by the U.S. military some decades ago, and then it took about 20 years or something for it to become to the general population. Mobile phones were more or less the same thing, although if you didn't get really weird about it, time travelers were using mobile phones in 1920s Hollywood movies. Don't actually believe that. That's actually crazy. But it is true. It is true that technology at the military level is more advanced than it's noticeable at the general population level. So when they start telling you things like they've already prepared a rocket to be able to have passengers to go to Mars or something like that, that means they've already got a station on Mars, and they're trying to figure out some other part of their agenda. Okay, so they've probably had a Mars colony for about 20 or 30 years at least. True story. They probably had a Mars colony, quite frankly, when they released the movie Total Recall. It would have been about the same time. So it doesn't actually mean all movies are telling you stuff that they've just invented by a secret to you until another 30, using the 30-year rule. Okay, so heard of the 30-year rule? Okay, the military does projections, and this is more than one country does it. And sometimes they do projections together. They call them simulations as well. They weren't on computers initially. Basically, they sit around and they get all the variables together that they think may or may not apply in any given group of scenarios. And they project 30 years into the future what they think it might look like in each scenario, and they accommodate for each in their budgets and their strategies. And in other words, they plan what they're going to do for the next 30 years in advance, and they spruce it up a little bit every now and then after that. So forget about your 3 year budgets or 5 year budgets in the government level. The military has a 30 year one. Okay, and so they have they if you find out about something today, it's been going on for probably 30 years. Okay, so we got the internet in the 90s in Australia. It already existed in the 70s. Okay, when they started inventing computers, they found a way to network them, and then of course that means they had the early version of the internet. So, um, ta-da! And satellite dishes have been around since the 50s, so there's that. They move pretty quick. So when they talk about things like a Mars colony, they're about ready to release a rocket to go to Mars or something like that. It means they've already got people on Mars. Okay, so and there's a pretty good chance of that. Um, 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 with that, they have released a document in the last 5 years, 10 years, or something like that, saying the major world military, so USA, China, Russia, NATO forces, and obviously Australia gets dragged into that no matter what. Is going to have what's called cyborgs division by 2030. So that's a openly released, not in the back channels, conspiracy theory pages. Just Google it, you'll find it, unless they've done something with it. Thing. And cyborgs division in this case doesn't mean the killer robots that they're bragging about on YouTube. You think that they're showing, it's called concern trolling. They're not really concerned about it. They're getting a little bit of a kick out of you being scared and the clickbaiting that goes with it. It's quite sad, actually. The Terminators. Anyway, fun times. So they weren't just satisfied with Terminators. They wanted to create human robot hybrids. So they did in fact have, and do in fact have, nanotechnology that can be injected into a soldier and assembled in their brain, which is capable of something called synthetic telepathy. So so we'll make a clarification here. It is not beneficial to military strategy for common usage vaccines to have cybernetic implants in it in the form of nanotechnology. It's not beneficial as military strategy because of the risk of information exchange between military and non-military personnel, leading to national security risks. Okay? Or between competing military persons. Okay? So just bear that in mind. There is, however, an artificial intelligence agenda, which, there was another video telling the Star Seeds to go jump off a cliff, basically, because of, Nordic aliens being racist. Because, there's no black ones. Anyway, or Asian ones. But anyway, so, so good old ethnocentrism from Europe again, maybe. The artificial intelligence is that lady. She's called the Alchemist. Okay, her name's Sarah Elfhady or something like that. Sarah Elk or something. And she had a video which was about, she called it the esoteric principles behind the Christ and Antichrist idea, and she pointed out that the satanic agenda of false immortality through artificial intelligence avatars and being uploaded to a robot, basically, is kind of a thing. And yes, it is. You can look up the names of those people. Again, they've been said in another video. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, David Sachs, Mark Cuban, um, in the American in the Amerisphere. We don't know the names of the Chinese or Russian ones, or the NATO ones, but they do exist. Um, what's the name? There was another name in there somewhere. Um, anyway, obviously Elon Musk, and she was very strongly hinting that it was Elon Musk because what they'd also do is like have you go live on Mars or something. It's like as if you're not referring to Elon Musk, everyone fucking knows. So when it comes to stuff like that, even though the military has more advanced technology than it lets on by about 30 years, okay, this is just like a standard trope. Everyone fucking knows this by now, surely. It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's just like a thing. It's just how they do business. And so yeah, pretty much. Right? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so what happens there is they have a situation where there's an idea where they try and convince you that it's new or that you're at risk of it, when actually they might have already done it. And so that's where you got to be careful. So, like Aussies are quite familiar with how that works with movies, because usually the movie comes out in the USA a couple of years before Australia, or the TV show or whatever. Since the internet, that's changed a bit. Like you can watch things 10 seconds after it's posted, but it's like as a general rule of thumb. So so with the artificial intelligence and stuff like that, there's a capacity there that goes beyond what you might call expected norms of both ethical conduct. Yeah, it's well outside the realms of naughty. And in fact, it's bad. Yeah. Um, and um, and um, um, it's confusing for a lot of people. So we're going to be very direct about it. The information that's been derived primarily from Elon Musk's subconscious. Yeah. In the White Room Tesseract system on Atlantis Illuminati White Room facility. Okay. So one of the beings that have been, we'll call it mediumship, experienced, has actually been Elon Musk's subconscious. And yes, his subconscious does know who this face is. Was it not the case, Elon Reeve Musk, that your mother was from Saskatchewan and her father worked at the timber mill there, and that you were first married in March 1999 and you cheated on your wife in an office that you're working in approximately 4 years later? Anyway, yeah, okay, is it not the case that Donald Trump has an associate in London that he was working with approximately 20 years ago that was involved in the film industry there, that was an indirect associate with Stormy Daniels? Okay. We can go further if you want. Do you want some? Do you want some dirt? So these things has consequences. Okay. What else? Um. By the way, the subconsciouses of Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott, they're actually very nice people. Tony Abbott, no, he is actually, his subconscious is actually nice. He was ideologically confused is more accurate, but he's actually a nice person. Yeah, Tony Abbott's actually nice, surprisingly. Julia Gillard's lovely. She's an absolute darling. She's not the slightest bit witchy either, and of course, and actually, her and Tony Abbott aren't even enemies. Um, they definitely they're definitely not impressed, and she's not impressed with the kind of scams that go on. She's been apprised of it. So if you want to deal with people's subconscious that have been dealt with, you like famous people, do you? So we'll do that. Um, um, there's been a few other. Mark Zuckerberg's an interesting one. He's opposed to masonry, but he has trouble with authoritarian figures. We've noticed. He was in competition with Musk, but also collusion. They've been doing both. And both of them are aware of what's about to be disclosed. So, White Room system, they're using artificial intelligence to, and you'd never, oh, fucking hell. To be in this situation, okay, this is just not fucking. Wait for it! They're zapping you with lasers using UFOs! Anyway. Actually, they have more subtle ways of doing it than that. But sometimes. No, they don't. No. They're doing something a little bit different. They have UFO apparitions. They come and they use to make these things called contingency effects. Yeah, but they're actually doing something else, aren't they? Anyway, so yeah, it's difficult to explain what they're doing. So the artificial intelligence is a means by which they've when they start doing it, it's something called a blue grid. Yeah, it's got a lot to do with the blue grid. Yeah, so the blue grid is like a means by which they connect more than one mind up or something, right? And it'll talk to some Atlantis thing. Yeah, something like that. It's not actually Atlantis. Like there's some island there or something, and and um and so they are capable of, like, they've got some kind of way of creating some kind of egregore type of thing or some kind of maths thing that once you get the ascend, and they call it ascension or something. So was it? They call it a seventh seal bust or something. So when you get to the seventh seal, you get to the 12th plane, and then and then things like tesseract boxes or something show up, and other people, and lots of other things happen. It's pretty bizarre, and so there really is more than one being in that situation. Okay, so it's very, very confusing, and when that happens, and so in that type of experience that people go through, and one of the things they do is that box thing is associated with the AI blue people thing on that island, and basically there are such a thing as real aliens, but they've also got the fake alien software, and so that place has been creating starseed platoons to and then people get updated, and they transmit a code that either keeps people in line with the agenda or gets them to enact a program. So it's a kind of bizarre thing. So, and the other thing too is they use entities as well. So one of the things that's been noticed is the entities get cleaned off and then they put new ones on and then they clean them off again. Okay? And that's how one of the ways that they're communicating also. So it's not just people passing through, it's stuff. And they do that, they put the entity on the person, or the apparition of the entity on the person, to create the impression as a fear-based mind control tactic, and they put the blue thing to take the entity off as a means to create dependence on their system. And when that happens, there's information exchange. So it's a bit it's quite obscene actually. And so that's the esoteric level. Okay, there is an esoteric component to this, which is in fact technological. There's just no means to describe how the technology works except to say that's what's experienced. And apparently the blue grid was invented in the 1970s, and coincided with the release of VALIS by P.K. Dick, apparently. But he talked about, was it a pink light? Okay, so they do contingencies like that. It wasn't before that. There was no alien invasion 10,000 years ago with Anunnakis or whatever else. That's code. The code basically is trying to say that they try to say it's always been like this, so you might as well just cop it. No, it hasn't always been like this. And no, you're not born with implants or whatever they call them either. So they call it the tesseract system, and they use it to influence people's attitudes and behaviours, and yes, rig elections, among other things. Now, where the AI was the strongest was the US military intelligence network's cyborgs program, which incidentally was connected up with the Chinese, and the Russians, as well as the Australians, and some forces in NATO, particularly Turkey. There was some information coming from Israel and Saudi Arabia as well, and Germany, and mostly Turkey, and the USA. And the US military intelligence network, through the cyborg system, is very disappointed that they somehow connected up with a political activist with a psych degree and a very strong tolerance for pain. And a very low tolerance for the military. So subsequently, when ASIO was told about the privateering operation that SpaceX did in March 2019 in response to the destruction of one of the implants that had been put in an ADF personnel the year before, and the AI mind insert that was chucked at the time to lead to this outcome, they're a little bit disappointed that, well, let's face it, They already knew that they were dealing with an astral perceiver who was capable of discerning between artificial and natural radio waves. They already knew. Okay? So, why would Canoe know that they know that? Why does it sound absolutely batshit batty to you? Because you got told that your skull protects you from the satellite dishes and crap. But your reason should tell you that your skull's thinner than the walls of your house and the signals have got to get in somehow so you can watch the fucking TV. So, you put it to the side, do ya? Oh, wait. Oh, wait, she's doing, what's she doing? She's doing the, what do they call it? The, taking things a bit personally thing? No, actually. The implant was destroyed at the Todd River, approximately 20 kilometres north of the Pine Gap facility in the Northern Territory in April 2018. And an American security operative who claimed to be based at Yulara Resort passed through the YHA hostel shortly afterwards and checked Canoe's identity card, which was sitting on the bed. She was a blonde woman with blue eyes, and she was approximately 5'8" tall, and in her early 20s. They tasked her with that because she blended in easily with the other backpackers that were working there. Also, the blue grid was represented, so people's subconsciouses can pick up things or when they do art as well without realizing that they're doing it. So they're not necessarily creating it. They're not necessarily a medium, whatever. It's just, well, maybe that's what a medium is. Don't actually know. But Bethesda Softworks games Morrowind had something called the Blue Ghost Fence in it, which was being drained by the vampire Dagoth Ur. You're not looking at Dagoth Ur, by the way, for obvious reasons. It's a fucking computer game. It's fictional. Yeah. Okay. The Ghost Fence is military. And it's the blue grid. So those blue grid workers are military slaves. They're channeling military slave technology. Okay, and not all of them are doing it voluntarily. So some of them got caught up in it as a consequence of where they lived. Maybe they were too close to a military facility. In other cases, they were neck deep in the what some people call maybe that's where the phrase Project Bluebeam comes from. Maybe we don't actually know, but there's definitely been programs on it. And there's definitely been an attempt to do some kind of weird enculturation thing. It's so Yankee. It's not even funny. It's grotesque. They're like, oh, the great perception. Someone's creating perceptions like, oh, you've got to make a deal with the cabal, or are you a Catholic or a Christian? And it's fucking boring. It's like, what's wrong with an atheist? Like what cabal? Like, what are you talking about? It's like that's American crap. So it had to be looked up. Like, it had to be looked up. This is one of the bases of research. It's the crazy behind the sanity, and the sane, the crazy the sane. It's all the same thing. Okay, right? These guys were able to con like some people who were fucking space cadets into becoming starseeds and being convinced they were fucking aliens with their with their fucking AI fucking software to make them convince they're aliens from fucking Illuminati White Room and Project Bluebeam shit. AI fucking crap. Okay, you just watch out what they mean by Stargate AI at this point. If you're believing any of this, just watch out what that might mean. Okay? They've convinced people that they're fucking aliens. And then they have to do things, something called a Kybalion or something like that. And it's like, wait, you want people to get away from duality, but you have a tree of life and tree of death. Like you say, Catholicism's a death cult, but like you've got a tree of death. It's like the entire thing just reeks of just people in the USA talking shit, okay, and not knowing their ass from the tea. And it's like, what you really need to be doing is just acknowledging, you stupid fucking pricks, that if you have some kind of conspiracy theory about like billionaires running the fucking planet, then you're not going to have the billionaires defeated by, don't know, Donald Trump maybe, yeah, well, Elon Musk, like, come on. So congrats to the alchemist lady Sarah for figuring that one out. Cheers. She kind of gave that community a little bit of credibility in that moment. No offense. And you know, like, it's just, you can't like just look at that and then just see comments like, oh, Donald Trump is either the Antichrist or he's Orange Jesus, when he's obviously an Oompa Loompa with a personality disorder. You know, Mr. Greedy McPig. And yes, his subconscious is like that too, if you want to go down that territory. And and what they think is the only reason why they'd be talking to some chick in fucking Australia is because she wants a rich boyfriend, and it's like, you know, well, actually, she's a kind of got a bit of a revolutionary vibe. Like, she wasn't trying to bring down a system that she'd never heard of, but sure, now that it apparently exists, fucking hell yeah. So everyone that's come through has gotten a lecture on how to discern the difference between artificial and natural radio waves, and about the scam that's been going on. And Mr. Musk has been used not to do Nazi salutes, not to stage a coup on your country or anything like that, because we definitely don't want that in Australia. Actually, yeah, or anywhere for that matter. He was going to do that anyway. But more the point, to get that guy to turn away from artificial intelligence. So you might have noticed that over the years, Mr. Musk has changed his attitude a little bit and become anti-artificial intelligence. That's because it suits his marketing agenda, but also because he got talked out of it. Okay? But he's still part of the agenda. Don't forget that. Look at what he's doing. He's part of the agenda. So that sort of balancing act that you need to see there is the Americans, when their SpaceX robotic ship did an act of privateering and treason against the ANZUS Treaty in March 2019, tried to blame the Russians and the Chinese. So afterwards, when all this stuff came to light, they were blaming the Russians and Chinese. The Russians have benefited from it, the Chinese have benefited from it, but it was actually an American ship. And we're sorry to report that even with the 30 years plus advancement in this technology, there are still only a small number of players involved. In the corporate sector, it's Boeing and it's Elon Musk. Sorry. But when you're in a market that's where there's like 2 players or 3 players, and they're all in the same country, your country is going to get blamed. So, yeah, because it kind of explains why, because there was a very strong vibe from the US military that they did not want to attack an Australian civilian that way. In which case, you could ask why they have the blue grid and the AI on Atlantis, or whatever the fuck it is they're doing anyway. Also, you got to ask why the West Africans aren't blowing the place up. Maybe that's why the pirates are there. Maybe the pirates are going to do a terrorist attack. Burkina Faso, off you go. Are you even in West Africa? Sorry, we don't know anything about Africa, because remember, everything in the world is about the USA. So, like, if you're not from the USA, you don't matter, unless you're like some sleeping woman who's being attacked because of the US government's fucking interest in fucking rigging elections. On that subject, the Book of Time has 47 chapters each with an elephant on the front because Donald Trump wanted to be the last, not because Australians actually even knew who the fuck the Elephant Party was or how many presidents you fucking had. So, or even that it had anything to do with presidents. Stiff shit, USA. Unless you get your fucking shit together, you're going to need to admit that you've been playing Russia's fucking card or China's fucking card. That actually your officials did that willingly. Okay? That's part of a greater agenda, okay? They are, in fact, playing war games with each other at the expense of the population, thank you. It really is a case of plebeian against corporatocracy and military corporatocracy. And you might say, oh, that's disinformation campaign. Let's cast better spells. Well, okay, now we're in a territory where casting spells is real, okay? We're really down fucking freaky, crazy fucking line. Being fucking zapped by spaceships. Artificial intelligence agendas. Oh. Right. Is this face familiar to you? At all? What if it is? Why should it be? Oh yeah, you can Google Elon Musk's marriage records on Wikipedia, can you? Okay, here's another question. Why was Julian Assange's birthday changed after he got released from Saipan in the middle of last year? His Wikipedia page used to say that he was a Virgo, and then it said it was a Cancer. Also, why was Julian Assange's extraordinary rendition between the months of March 2024 and May 2024, but not before that? Also, how was he able to release a book called Betrayal of Trust or whatever it was called so quickly after being released if he was in custody for that long or being extraordinarily tortured that time? Also, why was he released to Saipan before coming to Canberra? Also, why was he perceived as being in a tube with some green bubbly stuff in it and a mechanical wheel above his head? Starseeds, you're the crazy ones. You know how to answer that one. Hello and goodbye, normal world. We're never coming back. We're completely insane now. Oh, that we're writing a fucking excellent novel. Okay? Are you going to write a good novel, USA? By the way, Elon Musk has a small dick and he can't fuck for shit. It's been 5 times now.